Right, so street talk for this week. I got a feeling this isn't going to be a long one today. You enjoyed this week's Corrie quite a lot, didn't you? You had a couple of bangers.
Did I?
Did you, or maybe it was
I like
just
today.
one? We said that Monday was banging. I agreed with that, and then I just felt like it fell a little bit flat after that.
I can't listen. No, I shall have nothing said against.
I thought
Uncle
the first one was great. I thought Wednesdays was just miserable and depressing all round, really.
Yeah.
And today's one was so, but there are a few little interesting mystery twists that then turned into, actually, it's not as interesting as you really think.
I thought it was fine.
But you enjoyed it, didn't you? But I don't know. We might not go on for too long. I also, I want to be having a little play on my Switch before I go to bed as well, because I did get 2 new games this week. They're quite meaty, chunky games, and I'd quite like to have a little play of them before Betty buys. But we'll see how that goes.
My 2 favourite people this week, just before we even get going into it, were Shona and Stephen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so you doing your character of the week already? Was you just giving yourself a couple of hours to put it out there and to get the decision out there?
Character of the week, Stephen. Give this week 3.5 out of 5. Club and Vickers. Let's go.
No, you spoil it now. You got to give it all something completely different now. We are going to start off with the Paul storyline. You know what happened to him this week? Got pulled over.
Oh.
Pulled over by the police. Also, kind of obviously tragic as well because he thinks his life is over. We had some what? Well, no, that's what I said. That's what he thinks.
So flippant.
That's what he thinks. He got a bit of a bad diagnosis this week, didn't he?
It was devastating.
It wasn't that devastating because they didn't have the sound effect going.
No, stop it.
We have the explicit consent warning. We have a
free laptops.
Rufus killer as well. And then we got a couple of terrible storyline titles, including Lies in Eliza, because Hope is lying to her. Yeah, Gemma's face is contorted up there. The forehead is not enjoying that one. I'm not happy with it. You can't do much with Eliza, can you? We had
yes, you can.
Will you come up with one then? We got Acid Ryan and also Gemma's contribution to our storyline naming this week, Kitten Kerfuffle, with the George building a boat storyline. I don't know what's going on with that.
If somebody doesn't...
He's certainly building a model boat in his lounge.
Come out with that Jaws line for this storyline, then it's no point doing it.
Scale model of the Golden Hind. You know what I call Eileen's lounge at the moment? Hindquarters.
Why didn't you use that then?
I just thought of it. Then we had a little bit of the Hodgehog story as well. Gemma,
Do you know what line I'm referring to in Jaws?
Gonna get a bigger boat.
Yeah, I'm just making sure because I didn't know if you knew.
I've seen Jaws. I know Jaws.
I love Jaws.
About a giant whale, isn't it?
It's basically like Moby Dick.
So you wanted to start off with the Paul story, probably because...
Did I?
Well, no, you didn't. You want to do the Stephen storyline, and that's third on our list. And if we're doing our alternating storyline, you think I'm not going to be... I'm going to be not sensitive enough if I do the Paul storyline. So I'm going to pass this over to you. Go on. You got that miserable storyline. I got the miserable rape storyline. And then you got the fun serial killing storyline. So it's fine.
This was horrible. This was just horrible. I think Paul was really right when... Was it Paul? I can't remember. He said something. Somebody said something about, if you think that cancer's the worst thing you can get. But at least if you got told you had cancer, there might be a chance that you can do something about it. This is just the most awful thing.
I like that line, but equally, lots of people get told they have cancer and told there's nothing we can do.
I know.
He has got, the diagnosis or the prognosis.
This is horrible.
He hasn't got long left, possibly, has he? But I don't know whether he's going to make it for 3 years, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes, won't we? We all knew this was coming. They wouldn't have gone through the whole rigmarole of maybe you've got MND and made it all,
No, they did that with Daisy with her breast cancer.
Oh yeah, but
take you out.
The way that it's been going.
It's the fact that they've been going on about it on social media and doing special photo shoots that's been difficult to pretend I haven't seen.
Yeah, and just the way that Paul's been acting and everything, it's been feeling like it's definitely going to go that way.
Incredibly sad, and
it really does suck for Paul. And
it sucks for anybody who's got.
Well, yeah, of course. And I've not hidden the fact that I'm not Paul's biggest fan.
You're calling him a boring martyr, as far as I recall.
He has been a bit of a martyr this year, and maybe I feel a bit bad about that now, being a bit of a do-gooder. But I wouldn't wish this on anybody, and
Why do you always say this?
Because I wouldn't. It's true.
You can't wish illness on people. Why do people say this?
I have powers.
Wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy.
Well,
go ahead. I think worst.
That Peter Ash is going to do a good job, and this week has proven that, because he has been absolutely superb in his performances. I think
so
lots
sad.
of good crying, lots of.
I can't really, honestly. It's psychologically damaging.
Anyway,
watching this.
Would you like to give a little rundown of what's been going on here?
He finds out he's got it.
Yeah. What more is there to say? There is more to say. Go on. Synopsisize,
okay.
Please.
Right. So Billy, as usual, anytime anyone's got something horrible or a secret, their other half is just overly lovely and attentive to try to make it even worse. So Billy's like, "Oh, let's go for lunch." Well, Paul says he wants to take him out for lunch, just a couple of toasties, even though he's poor.
Because
and Billy's
he's so
like,
benevolent and kind.
Yeah, I don't actually do any work. I don't really know what an archdeacon does. I still haven't worked it out.
Oh, hang on a minute! I've got to crown the king in a few weeks' time. I suppose I better get on that.
Oh yeah, I've got to wear a nice dress and walk down the middle of the abbey.
Westminster Abbey.
I've got to escort the Stone of Scone.
What's that?
The Stone of Destiny, Michael, from Scotland.
Is it who gets to carry the holy hand grenade?
Princess Anne, from what I've read. Okay, Damon's on the phone to the bloke. This car. So he stole Rufus's car.
Yes.
Before Rufus was murdered.
Oh, Paul did.
But
Damon's the person.
Yes, I'm just saying that.
Okay.
Damon's on the phone to the bloke who's got the car sold to him.
Niall.
And he's looking at paper, going, "This guy's died. This car is hot property. I can't." And Damon takes the newspaper out of the bin, and is like, "Oh, I'm stressed." So he goes and drags Paul away from his gorgeous toasty lunch with Billy, and he says, "I've got to talk to you about the bistro." So they're going to stand in the middle of the street and have a conversation about stealing cars. And Niall,
yeah.
But with 2 L's. It's like Phil with 2 L's.
I don't know how many L's Niall has got. He could have 5 for all
Why
I know.
doesn't Damon have like 2 N's on the end? Paul with 2 U's. Damon tells Paul, "Get rid of this car. We don't want to upset Niall, and he's a bit annoyed. So sort this car out, get rid of it." So Paul goes and gets this car, and he's trying to change the radio, and he looks down, and his hand becomes weak, and he pulls over. He swerves all over the road, right as the police car's following him. And the police...
Can I just say, appreciated the location shoot. I always have to give a shout out to when they actually do a bit of driving on a real road and everything. Nice.
Yeah, good job. Paul says,
More often, please.
"I just swerved to avoid a cat." And the policeman's like, "All right, okay." He's about to let him go when... You've written Craig, but it's Paul.
It is
when
Paul. I've written Craig twice.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just wishing this.
So his colleague's like, "This isn't right," and so the police officer says, "Get out of the car. Are you sure this is your car? It's not your car, is it?" And Paul's like, "Oh dear, no comment." And he's being interviewed. We cut to the police station, and they're saying, "You did you kill Rufus?" And he's like, "What?" He's no commenting, and then they've dropped this on him, and he says, "No, I didn't kill him."
Yeah, he at this point says exactly what happened, doesn't he?
What exactly happened? He swiped it when this guy
Rufus,
wasn't looking.
Yeah.
He didn't even know who Rufus is.
No. Well, just some Swish guy that was hanging around the street.
Then with very bad taste in interior decorating, even though he rented it. So is that just smearing the dead, isn't it?
Yeah. Sounds like something that had happened on Walking Dead, isn't it? Like, got a bit of zombie on the windscreen, just or a smear of the dead off the windscreen.
Dee Dee turns up and says, "Oh, I'm the duty solicitor, and I know that you said you don't want any representation, but tough. I've heard you've been arrested, so I've come to help you." And it's DC...
DS,
I don't know the difference. It's all the same to me. DS Swain says Paul's confessed to stealing a car that's worth £50,000. And Dee Dee's like, what the heck? So she gets given some alone time so she can talk to him about this. Dee Dee's like the guardian of secrets this week, because she knows all about Damon and Sarah, and now she knows all about Paul.
Yeah.
Don't know what she's going to do with all this information. I would use it to blackmail everybody, but she's too nice. So Paul says, I just stole it because I needed the money. And then he says, I'm already looking at a life sentence. And he tells Dee Dee he's got an appointment tomorrow. But either way, his hand's useless. And Dee Dee says, oh, we can use this to explain why you nicked the car. And he says, no, it's a secret. I don't want anyone, Billy, I don't want anybody to know about this. And Dee Dee says, well, no, we need to tell them. But before they can have a conversation, Swain comes back in and restarts the interview. And she tells him that they've got to keep him in overnight because they weren't going to get CCTV of the surrounding area. And this is what he's got supposed to have this appointment. So
his hand appointment the next day, isn't he?
Will he make it to the appointment? On Wednesday, Dee Dee comes to visit Paul and says there's evidence that Rufus wasn't dead when you nicked the car, so you're off the hook for that, but you're still going to be charged with stealing the car because you kind of admitted you did it. So Paul tells Billy that he and Dee Dee got drunk last night, and he stayed at her house, and he lies about the hospital appointment being moved so that Billy won't go with him, but Dee Dee invites herself so she can be involved in the drama. So they go to the hospital together, sitting in the waiting room, and Paul is asking Dee Dee about stories about living in America, and she's saying, "Oh, it's so nice." Like, I saw people on a...
Well, she's talking about like beach thingies, isn't she? Beach fun times.
Santa Monica Beach. I saw people on our Facebook group saying it's not actually that nice there. But Dee Dee's just like bragging, isn't she? She's bragging.
Yeah.
Paul says, will you take me one day? And she says, of course I will. But she looks upset. They're very anxious. He talks about his hand being bad, and she says, let's still hope you get it back to normal. Then this guy, the consultant, comes and calls him in.
He seems like, if I was called into a medical waiting room by somebody as jovial as that consultant, I'd be like, oh, I think it's going to be all right. Because he's like, hello, is that Paul here? Well, Paul, nice to see you. Come inside.
No, it's horrible. It's horrible. So Paul gets told his diagnosis. He's got limb onset motor neuron disease. Some people die within 3 years, but some people live longer. But they need to assess him. They need to more information.
Yeah, the more that they kind of look into his condition and assess him and check him and everything,
then they'll know.
The better the chances he's
got.
How
big the hourglass is.
Yeah.
So
and the better that they can deal with him and try and help
him.
Yeah.
Paul can't take this. He just walks out, and Dee Dee sat there. So she runs after him, and he runs into the car park, and somebody's parked right next to him, and he gets mad, and he's shouting about this car being parked too close to them, and she's trying to get the keys in the ignition, and then he just bursts into tears. This is just awful. This story is awful. This is just tragic. I can't cope with this storyline. Back at the flat, Paul tells Dee Dee he's like, do you know what else? Not only this, but also when I was a child, I was abused. Yeah, that's right. And she's like, what the hell? and this is when he said...
And that was before I was even in the show.
I know. He's saying, I can't even catch a break. This is... At least if it was cancer, then I'd have a chance, he says. And then if you were there, Michael, you'd have said, no, some people with cancer just die.
Yeah.
Some people with cancer, it's just already too late for them too. So that's nice to know, isn't it? Mm. So Dee Dee just holds his hand and says, just cry, shout, do whatever you need. I'm here for you. And he's like, well, my life's over. I'll never be able to do anything now. Nothing I wanted to do is going to happen. I wanted to support my family and not be able to do that. I can't have any kids. Can't do this. It's like 3 years, and you don't even know how you're going to be in that time. It's not like you've got 3 great years, is it?
No.
This is just the worst thing ever.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, knowing
this is horrible.
where it goes, I literally don't know how quickly it. Sure, we'll find out.
So she says, look, we'll support you. Your family will support you. You don't need to think about that. They're there for you now.
Yeah.
So Paul goes back to Billy's house, and then someone's talking about Amy, And
all her dramas that's going on. Oh, Amy's fallen over.
And
she's had a fainting fit.
Can't really say anything about his news if he even was going to, because he's just dumbstruck by sad Amy's news. And then Billy says, "Oh, we should go to Fizz's salsa lessons." And Paul's like, "Oh, I can't commit one way or the other on that, I'm afraid." Goes back to Dee Dee's flat, and she can tell he hasn't told Billy. And she tells him, you have to tell Billy. And Paul says, "Don't tell him about this, and don't tell him about this court case either." Court date, I mean.
It's a secret.
Keep a secret, please. For no reason. Friday, Paul's got this court date set, and Dee Dee says, if you tell them who it is that you were going to sell the car to, they might be lenient. So in the pub, Billy's telling Todd that he feels there's something not right with Paul.
Oh yeah, because Todd had to try and convince Billy. Billy thinks that maybe Paul's got another guy on the hook, doesn't he? But Todd's like, no. I wonder whether Billy's gonna suspect that Paul and Billy are seeing each other.
Billy's gonna suspect Paul and Billy are seeing each other.
Sorry, Billy and Todd. No, Billy's gonna suspect Paul and Todd, maybe.
Oh, that would be fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I could do without all this extra drama. I honestly wish that Coronation Street would stop layering drama on top of other things. You know? I don't feel like we need it all the time. I think it's bad enough.
I do wish that Paul had just told Billy. I mean, it's kind of standard practice, really, isn't it, for somebody to get a diagnosis on Coronation Street? 50% chance they're not going to tell their loved ones immediately.
I think it's human nature not to.
It's I mean, I feel like definitely it's true to life for some people.
If you don't say anything, then it's not true. So,
but he's so brave and he didn't want to upset Billy.
Shut up! You're horrible. Damon gets a worrying phone call and rushes to find Paul at the bistro, and he's heard that Paul's been arrested, and Paul says, "No, I'm not going to dob anyone in." And Damon says, "Well, you better, because this guy and his brother, don't mess with them, because
can beat you up.
They'll give you 3 years to live." Later on, Dee Dee tells Paul that he should tell the courts about his diagnosis, but he says, "No, if I say that, then it will be in the papers." I think he overestimates how competent what
Coronation Street happenings are always going onto the front page of the Gazette, aren't they? World's most unfortunate street has yet another diagnosis of misery.
So he doesn't want Billy and Gemma to find out about this. He wants to keep everything on the down low until after Gemma gets married. And then he watches they claim it's a rom-com.
Yeah, I know. Paul wants to watch, I can't remember what it was. And Billy's like, "Oh, can we watch a rom-com, please?" And Billy's like, Paul's like, "Oh, yeah, go on then, if you must." I thought that might give him a good laugh.
And he just crying his eyes out all the way through it. I mean, it can't be in the birdcage. That's what I'd watch. For some reason, it keeps coming up on suggested clips for me on YouTube, and every single time I see it, I have to watch a bit of it. It's the best. Oh, you haven't seen it?
No, we've had this discussion
it's
on the podcast before.
Okay, right, we've got to watch it. It's so funny. It's so funny.
Okay.
Maybe they were watching the birdcage and he was crying because of Robin Williams.
Yeah. Well, Paul was he was
oblivious.
Billy was like this is, you're not usually like this. You don't usually cry. And Paul's obviously thinking, "Oh, look how happily ever after these two people."
He's probably just crying, going, "I've only got 3 years left, and I'm watching this crap."
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Okay, so bit. What is there to say? That was sad.
This was horrible. This is so horrible.
Yeah.
Why don't they make up funny diseases for Coronation Street that people could die of?
Because they can't raise awareness of fake diseases, can they?
I guess this is important, because I know that is MND the same as ALS?
Yes, I think yes. I'm going to say yes.
Because
but not the same as AHS, which is American Horror Story.
I knew that was horrible. I didn't really know much about it, to be honest. I knew that there was the Ice Bucket Challenge.
No, I didn't really know.
And to be honest, I found that so obnoxious that I didn't find out any more about any of it.
I am kind of morbidly curious to see where this story's going, in the same way that I was kind of quite curious to find out what was going to be underneath Ryan's bandages. But I do think that it's going to be very, very, very miserable.
It's morbidly curious in the same way that you're morbidly curious about what happens if you pick a scab off. Like, you know what's going to happen. It's going to be horrible.
Yeah, but I'm still really wondering how much are they going to show? What are they going to do with Peter Ash? How far are they going to take it? I mean, like with Hayley's, when she had her terminal cancer, I mean, one of the reasons that possibly they made the character take her own life is so that they didn't have to show her wasting away quite so much as you might do. I don't know.
I mean, we've both known and loved people who have wasted away from a disease.
Yeah.
And it's horrific.
Yeah.
I don't want to see it on television. But what's the alternative? The only alternative I can
about
think
people
of
building kit boats in their lounge.
He goes away somewhere, like, you know, when you're a kid, goes to live on a farm, or he kills himself, which I think would be dreadful, because there are people who are watching this who are going through this. There are people who are watching this who know somebody who might have a diagnosis of this. Do you really want to go, yeah, there's nothing you can do, really? You might as well just die.
Yeah, no, I'd say exactly.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
And it's more convenient for us, and in a way, it would be easier for the audience if that happened, because we don't have to be, you know, watch him suffer. But that's no way to raise awareness, is it, for this?
I thought that the comment that Paul made about not wanting to tell people before Gemma's wedding, it kind of makes me think it's either going to be
revealed at the wedding,
or very, very nearly after the wedding that this comes out, which is, I don't know, I guess at some point in the next couple of months.
How would you feel if you were getting married and somebody was going through this and they didn't tell you until right after? I don't know how I'd feel.
I probably would be secretly feeling kind of grateful.
Would you?
Well, yeah, maybe that it didn't ruin my big day, but it's just gonna be very miserable and sad. It's not necessarily got a whole load of characters that I'm especially invested in. See, with the Sinead and Daniel storyline, I did really like Sinead and Daniel, and with this you got Billy, you got Summer, you got Gemma, you got Paul. I don't know, but it's going to be a big one. I'm thinking this is going to make me more interested in Paul. As I say, I know that Peter Ash is going to do a brilliant job. I've got no doubt about that whatsoever. But
it is interesting, like, how do they pick which character to do this to? Because I mean, I'm not, with the best will in the world, Paul, can you stop fidgeting? What are you doing?
Sorry.
What, are you right?
Yes, I'm fine.
Paul
is not... my bum, all right?
I didn't know what you were doing. You were standing there. You were sitting there with your hand on your hip.
Sorry.
Okay, can I continue?
Yes.
Paul's not everyone's favourite character. Like, let's be diplomatic here. If they did this to somebody like Daisy, say, or Carla, would there just be riots? Is that what they've done? Like, oh, let's sacrifice somebody lower down on the popularity scale because the trauma would be too much?
No, I don't think so. I think if anything, the storyline would hit better if it was one of the more loved characters.
I think if it was somebody that I cared about, I would be sick. I wouldn't be able to watch it. I mean, it's bad enough. Sinead, I didn't really like Sinead at all. If one of my favourite characters went through something like this, I would have to not watch it.
Well, thank goodness it's not. It's only Paul. Are you...
It's too horrible.
I don't know what. At least what
I just don't know what the purpose is.
At least what's good at this, I think, is the Dee Dee and Paul stuff. And Dee Dee's been on the show for 6-7 months now, and she went through quite a stretch of just kind of semi being in it and, you know, being in the background a bit. But it feels like this storyline could potentially be the making of Dee Dee. She's not just, you know, the hotshot lawyer who's also kind of kooky and forgetful. She's actually a really lovely person, and to see this little blossoming friendship between her and Paul and keeping the secrets and everything, I think this is going to do her quite a lot of good. I wonder whether she's like, could she talk to her mum about it, you know, medical professional?
What's Aggie gonna do? Go, oh God, really? Oh.
It's not so bad. Don't worry about it. No, I don't know.
It's not so bad about this.
No, I know. Yeah, have you enjoyed Dee Dee being the confidant? I kind of like her.
I know. It's like, did you enjoy having a prawn cocktail while you were burning in hell. Like, I normally would like it, but I don't like being on fire.
Good point. And then, of course, we've got the whole extra layer of misery with the court thing coming up.
I can do without this. What's the...
I was still thinking that this was going to be linked to the Stephen storyline, and as in, like, has Paul seen anything? But I think after everything else that's happened this week, it feels like Paul had absolutely no idea that Stephen was there, and it just was a kind of nice, convenient kind of crossover thing. But okay.
Well, I mean, I said a minute ago, I don't know what this is for, and we all know what this is for. This is to raise awareness, and yes, it is really important. And just wish.
I'm already getting my awareness raised of acid in the face, though. My awareness can only go so high.
It's the most horrible thing. This is just horrible.
Well, let's talk about some rape.
I wish I had something clever or insightful or reassuring or funny to say about this, but it's just horrible. But I do have another tragedy to share with everybody. A fly flew into my cider.
A fly's flown into your cider?
Yeah.
Is it floating around in there or something?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's tragic.
It's really tragic. Oh, he's probably had a good time for a little bit. Right, I'm going to talk about the Amy storyline.
It's tragic for me, not the fly. What do you mean? It's my tragedy. He's dead now. Nothing can hurt him.
Right, so
anymore.
Amy is getting made up for this party on Monday. It's Nina's 21st birthday, and I do feel that she was shafted somewhat in the whole party.
You can't say that in this storyline.
Oh, that's a very good point. Because it was really all about Aaron and Amy, and it just so happened that Nina's party was the vessel in which this drama could take place on Monday night.
I need to do a critique. Asha and Amy, party planning committee, worst in Weatherfield.
Why?
They spent all their time running around trying to organise something, forgot to book the venue properly, and then when it turned out that they had the party in the flat, their idea of decorating it was just to put skulls everywhere.
They had Nina masks. Did you see the Nina masks?
Yeah, but they didn't even make a thing out of it.
No, they didn't. Nobody wore them, did they?
It's awful.
Oh, well.
You only get to be 21 once. You have to wait till you're 30 for the next good one. Big one. And even then, you're just sad.
I think had a great 30th birthday party, thank you very much.
Why?
It was on my Nintendo dress-up theme party. You must remember that.
Of course, how could I forget? But, 21's the last proper you can celebrate and be happy that you're...
Still got your whole life ahead of you.
Yeah.
If you're a goth like Nina, then that's probably a bad thing.
When you age, you're like, yes, closer to death.
Right, so she's getting ready for this party on Monday, and Steve and Tracy are saying, "Oh, daughter, we're so proud of you for getting back on track, getting back to a normal life and everything." And Amy says, yes, I'm fine, it's okay. She kind of drops off because she doesn't want Mum and Dad fussing over her.
Right,
then Asha comes in and says, "Oh, we got so much to arrange because we only decided to do this big party last episode."
Can you remind me where we are with who knows what about Amy? Has she, at this point, told them that she wasn't raped?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so this Monday we start off with...
Everyone thinks...
I was just confused.
Yes.
Okay.
Indeed. So, Nina comes round to number 7 later. They kind of take the party planning over there, and Nina comes round, so they have to kind of hide it all away and everything. And they all make these terrible excuses about why they can't meet with her tonight.
This is
I can't remember.
lame.
Somebody says that they're babysitting. Oh, was this? Somewhere, I can't remember. They're saying, we've got to babysit someone, and then Nina says, who? And they're like,
a baby.
And I think Amy says she's got an eyebrow boy as well as something. But
it's like, what? Why?
She should have known. If people start being very cagey around you on your birthday on Coronation Street, there's a pretty high chance that someone's going to jump out, shout surprise at you, and blow a party popper in your face.
But I'm very anxious and paranoid. So if I was having my 21st birthday party and everybody was like, "Oh no, we can't hang out with you. I'm busy. I can't spend your birthday with you," I would go and hide in the woods, and they'd never find me again. Because I'd assume that they were telling the truth and they didn't like me.
Oh.
So it's a good job being Nina's a real goth then, isn't it?
So she kind of heads off again. She seems to buy this, doesn't she?
Screw you guys, I'm
so
gonna go watch the
Asher
bats.
then gets a phone call from the venue, and apparently, they've got no record of her booking there. She checks her email and whoopsie daisy, accidentally booked a bar with the same name in a different town. It's a bit like in Salford booking the wrong alchemist by mistake.
Nobody would do that.
Nobody
would do that.
So anyway, this party is proper doomed. So they go to the cafe later and say, right, crisis, panic stations, what on earth can we do here? No idea, says everybody. Where on earth could we go? I mean, there is the bistro perhaps, or maybe Speed Dial, or you know what, Chariot Square. I hear that's quite good.
Do you know where I would go?
Where?
For Nina's party. The Haunted Snooker Hall.
Ah, yes, they should
have
do.
bloody loved that, wouldn't
Bet
you?
nobody was down there.
Yeah.
That would have been right up her street.
Thank you. I am an epic party planner.
Yeah. But anyway, no, something else comes along, and it's, of course, their old flat, which I think is now standing empty, isn't it? Ed's still trying to get somebody to move in there.
Who was he trying to fleece money off, but that had to move out because he didn't have any?
All of them, I think.
Who was the last person that was in there?
Aaron? I think...
Yeah, it was Aaron.
I think Aaron was the last one in there, yeah.
Well done, Ed.
Anyway, he comes in, Aaron does. He's always following around. Like, wherever Amy is this week, Aaron seems to wander in not long after. And he says, oh, you know what? I've still got the keys to my old flat. Maybe you can have your secret party there. Ardy's there with them as well and says, brilliant, jumps at the chance. But Aaron says, have a good time. He's in fair play to him. He's not trying to wangle an invite to this party because he realises that could be somewhat awkward.
Inconsiderate.
But then Ardy's like, Aaron, you're brilliant. I reckon you should come along to this party.
No, hang on. Amy's like, Ardy says, oh, I feel bad.
Yeah.
And then Amy's like,
Amy's like, oh, well, fine. If he wants to come along to the party, then he might as well come to the party then. And Ardy's like, brilliant. He's my mate and my bro. Guy, you're coming to this party with me. And Aaron is quite pleased with this invitation. So, go to the flat. Summer's trying to say, look, if we can uninvite him, if you want to, Amy. And Amy's just like, no, change. She's trying to be brave, bless her, isn't she? And show that it's not having any effect on her. But
also, like,
really
does Nina really want Aaron at her? Like, is it going to ruin the party if he's not there? No.
Exactly. So anyway, they start decorating the flat with their skulls and their Nina masks and everything, and Amy's there. This is probably one of the only times that she's been up there since the incident happened. And she's hoovering up or sweeping up, isn't she? And she has a sad glance bedroom woods, and
well, she's being
re-traumatized. Yes. So party gets started. Aaron comes up to Amy and says, oh, I should thank you for my invite here. Can we bury the hatchet? And she's like, in your back maybe, or in your head or something. I can't remember where she says. So Nina makes a thank you speech and is especially thankful to Aaron for helping to sort the venue this evening. And Aaron's there, totally chilled. There's been a couple of times since this has all happened where he believes that he's completely got away with it. He's not sure he thinks that there's anything to get away with. And during the party, he's there kind of lounged out on the sofas. He's got at least 3 women fawning over his foppish head gorgeousness. And he says, like, we should start doing shots. Well, hey, I'm cool party guy, Aaron.
I'm not even a junior mechanic anymore. I'm a normal mechanic.
Yeah, he probably should have used that chat line, shouldn't he? Anyway, so... Amy and Summer are just watching there from the back, clearly uncomfortable. Not only that he's here, but he also seems to be, the one that's drawing all the attention at the party. And then Aaron at one point goes up to Amy and says, oh, you know what, Ames, I'm glad that, me and you, we're cool now. I'm glad, we've drawn a line under this. And she's like, no way are we cool. I don't want anything to do with you. She tries to walk off and he grabs on her arm. He grabs hold of her forearm, doesn't he, to try and stop her. And she's like, beats his chest, storms off. And so she goes over to Seb's garden with Addy and Summer in hot pursuit. What's going on, they say. I thought things were okay-ish with you. And she's like, no, you know what? I'm not lying about this anymore. I was raped by everyone's favourite nice guy, Aaron Sanford. And nobody believes me. Not even the police. People all think it's in my head. All the girls think Aaron's so lovely. Total legend. And Summer and Aaron are like, not me, Amy. I think he's an idiot as well. Yeah. So...
I think that it's nice that she's got people who have her back.
It is very nice indeed.
This is a really... I like this story. I think this is a good storyline.
Oh yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's kind of sad and tragic and miserable, but I'm enjoying the mix of characters in here, and it's interesting seeing how it's kind of twisting and turning and
this is maybe tragic, but it's not bleak. It's not like inescapably bleak.
No. I mean, the bleakness for Amy is that she could go the rest of her life with
no justice.
Yeah, exactly. Not feeling like he's got what's coming to him, and she feels like everyone's gonna go ahead or gonna live the rest of their lives believing that she's a bit of a drama queen and made it up or what have you.
Well, she's got people that believe her at least.
Yeah, exactly. And what a lovely pair, especially Ardy. Ardy was this is
Ardy's doing all right for himself.
Yeah, on Monday and Wednesday's episode. Well, especially Monday.
Well, tell me what happens.
Right. Okay.
So Ardy and Sam
go back to the flat. Ardy chucks Aaron some bin bags and says, "Right, make yourself useful. The party's kind of all gone over.
I mean, Amy's sort of ruined the party, hasn't she?
Yeah, thanks, Amy.
I think that Nina wants to go somewhere else.
Yeah, they want to head on into town, don't they? And Ardy says, "Asher and Nina, you go there. We'll leave the two guys to stay around, and we'll tidy up."
If I was Nina, I'd say, yeah, I'm not going to tidy up my own party.
I know, exactly. Thank you. So Steve and Tracy, meanwhile, are in the pub talking about Amy, and they're saying, "Oh, I hope she's enjoyed tonight, because you know what, this could be a positive step forward for her. Getting her back to life, back to normal." So then we have some great scenes between Aaron and Ardy, just the two of them left alone in this flat.
This
and
was
Aaron's
great.
saying, "Look, I swear to you, mate, I did not take advantage of Amy."
It's the AA club.
And it is again. And he says, "Look, it's her word against mine." Amy says she was passed out and that she was too drunk to consent, says Ardy, but Aaron's like, no, mate, look, I've been saying the same story since the start, that she was well up for it. This is the truth. Amy, on the other hand, took 3 weeks to even report this so-called rape to the police. Can't you see that she's making it up? She's pretending. And who did the police end up believing at the end of it? Me, Aaron, handsome Aaron. I am 100% handsome and also innocent.
Yeah.
But now this is on my permanent record, my permanent police record.
Oh.
It sounds like the permanent record you have in America.
Is this really true?
Well, yeah, he says he's on the. Going to be flagged on the sex offenders register or whatever. But yeah, there'll be some kind of register.
I suppose there has to be a register, a recording of the complaint.
Yeah, it's like, schools will have systems where if children are involved in whatever, then they'll be like flagged up. What type of incident is this? Is this verbal? Is this a beating? Is this kind of violence, or is it bullying, or is it whatever? And so it's even if they're not found that they've had anything to do with it necessarily, the fact that there'll be.
I guess
there'll
that
be a little
makes
flag
sense. It is a bit scary, isn't it? Like if he really hadn't done this.
Yeah. This is like with Jackson in that storyline, wasn't it? Because didn't he say on Monday that he wanted to do some kind of something or other working with kids, and if he was going to get in trouble for having a go in whoever it was in the pub, that you're looking confused. We'll get to that storyline later.
Don't talk to me about anything else.
So
I only want to know about Aaron.
Ardy says, right, I didn't actually realise that it was on your permanent record. That's kind of sucky.
Oh no!
And Aaron's like, who is the real victim here?
It's
Door
you.
bursts open. It's Alia. It's me, everyone. I'm the real victim. Alia
I thought you were introducing me.
So he offers Ardy a beer. So it looks like,
Ardy's on his side.
Seems to be on his side at this point, or coming
Who
closer
wouldn't be?
to it. So meanwhile, Amy and Summer are back at Billy's flat later. Amy's kicking herself for changing her story before. She says, look, it was only to protect myself. And Summer's like, oh, why are you not more angry about it? I'd be fuming if this was me. And Amy says, look, I haven't got the energy to be angry. I just want to go home, get to bed, put the covers over me, and for this all to be over. Meanwhile, back at Party Central, Aaron's getting a little bit tiddly, having a laugh with Ardy. And then he starts getting a bit maudlin and saying, "Oh, I've been branded for life now." And Ardy says, "No, don't worry about it. People are going to move on."
Well, this is when Ardy writes on his arm.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I don't know. It just does a doodle.
They kind of do doodles and talk about tattoos and stuff, don't they?
Part of Ardy's plan.
Yeah.
He does a doodle.
He was great, Ardy. I loved him.
I'd like to have someone like Ardy on my side.
Yeah, but I was also getting a bit nervous around this point, thinking, "Oh, has he really gone back to him again?" Because I loved it when he was on Amy's side. Because I want Ardy to always be on the side of the righteous.
When I pictured,
and as the scene went on, and Ardy, and I was like, Ardy seems very, very sober here. I think he's up to something, and he was.
When I pictured this storyline before, how it would progress, I always did think that Ardy might be on Aaron's side.
Yeah, and he was for a spell, wasn't he? And then
I don't, it makes sense that he would do. And again, this storyline is dangerous because we know who is telling the truth. And so a lot of people are going to be watching this thinking, well, of course Aaron's guilty and I wouldn't, blah, blah, blah. But in real life, you would never know.
No. Especially if one of them's your mate and you're going to just be more likely to want to believe what they're saying. And it's a bit more convenient for all concerned.
And
what?
You would believe your friend, like... Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, it seems like Ardy is just trying to ply Aaron with plenty of booze. Tracy and Steve, meanwhile, are getting home to find Aaron on the sofa, and she's like, "Oh yeah,
Amy's
Amy
on the sofa."
What did I say? Find Aaron on the sofa.
Sorry,
how are you doing?
Having a rest.
And sorry, Amy's there on the sofa saying, "Look, I had a great time. Yeah, whatever.
I love parties."
And then Steve and Tracy are like, "That's me girl."
Hooray!
So. Final scene of the episode, Aaron completely passed out on the sofa in the party flat, and then Ardy gets this permanent marker that he was using earlier to doodle on Aaron's arm and writes all over his forehead, and it says guilty. He got guilty all over his face, well, at least the top half of it, and then he heads off, and then this is the moment where we're like, yeah, go Ardy, you are truly on the side of justice.
But I think it was interesting he wrote guilty.
Well, yes, I was, honestly, when he started writing on the forehead, rapist, I was convinced that's what he was going to write.
I'm really fascinated as to why it was guilty and not rapist. I think they probably had a lot of conversations about this.
I wonder if it's like, could Ardy have sued him for slander or whatever the word is?
No, Aaron would have sued Ardy.
Yeah, if it's like, you can't go telling people I'm a rapist.
I just wonder whether it was something to do with like the fact that James Craven, we don't want to write rapist on his head in case it doesn't come off. I don't know, but
I must admit, what?
Yeah, sorry.
On Wednesday's episode, I was all ready and G'd up, but as we tuned into Wednesday to say, what funny adventures is Aaron going to get up to for like going through half an episode with people giving him funny looks and him like going, why is everybody looking at me? Well, I mean, people always look at me because I'm so tall and handsome, but they're getting a different expression than normal. And I just thought that there was real scope for funny little scenes. But is it not?
No.
Is it not suitable for this story?
It's not funny. No, you're mad.
No, I think it could have fit.
Next.
But anyway, he wakes up and he's getting a glass of water and everything, and he manages to spend the morning tidying up the flat, including presumably the bathroom, because you know what teenagers like in bathrooms.
Also, he's
without seeing a reflection of himself.
I'm sure Aaron spends quite a lot of time looking at himself in the mirror.
Yeah, he probably does, doesn't he? Like every half an hour the alarm goes off in his watch. Oh, just got to go and check my hair.
I think that the idea is that he woke up a bit later than he expected to, so he didn't really get a chance to do anything except to pick some cans up.
Yes. Well, yeah, he gets... I can't remember. He's not...
You said he wakes up and he spends the morning tidying the flat, but that's not what happens. He wakes up and he starts putting things in a bag. Yes, and then he realises, because he gets a phone call from Abby, that he's late for work.
Yeah, Abby honking at him down the line because he's too... Anyway, so he says, right, I'm coming, you're right. So he kind of hurriedly... The problem with the reason why they couldn't leave it completely as it was is because they weren't really supposed to be in the flat, were they? They were supposed to be trying to hide it from Ed, that they were having a secret teenage party there. It seems that it worked, because we've not had Ed at all this week going, oh, what's going on in there? Then why are there masks of Nina in the flat? But anyway, so Aaron goes off, and yeah, he doesn't really get anybody giving him a funny look, because he sees it himself, a reflection in the florist's window as he walks past, and he's like, oh my God. And he's like, tries to rub it off his permanent marker, so he's like, has to rush off back home to try and scrub it off. And eventually gets to work quite late with his head washed, and Abby's like, well, you know what, just glad you had a good night. But then he looks up and he sees Ardy is staring at him, and Ardy's probably thinking, oh, I should have pressed harder. So Amy, meanwhile,
should have used a knife.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he
would have woken up.
Would have been a bit like he was it in Game of Thrones, those monks that had the symbol carved into their foreheads. Oh yeah.
Well, I was thinking of in Harry Potter, where he had to write his lines.
Oh yeah. Must not tell lies for Umbridge, yeah.
More a bitch.
Anyway, so Amy has got a letter from the university just to really rub it in what a rubbish life she's got at the moment.
From Hogwarts?
No, it's from the university saying you got a warning for failing to submit some coursework. Twice, I think it was. And she's like, I haven't got room in my head for dealing with this at the moment.
I nearly
Screws
had that
it up.
when I was at university, but it's because I got obsessed with playing The Sims.
Did you really?
No.
Okay.
Of course I didn't.
She looks up and sees a bottle of vodka, because that's really the go-to coping method for any teen on Coronation Street.
Well,
bottle of something or other, get bladdered and pass out in Victoria Gardens, which is where Summer finds her later on that episode. And one of your underrated, this is a fairly highly rated tweet this week, wasn't it, that you
what
put
did
on.
I say?
You had a picture of Summer next to Amy, collapsed on the underneath the bench, going, police, I want to report a theft, Amy's stealing my bit.
It was quite funny, like Summer should have really been
fainting
annoyed.
queen. Do you think that Elle got advice from Harriet about how to do the perfect faint?
How to swoon?
Well, she didn't. She was found having swooned, wasn't she? But
yeah.
The lying position. How do you faint, Bibster, without getting pins and needles, or without getting a carpet mark on your face or something? And she's like, let me tell you, you just rest your head on that arm, and you can lie there for a good half an hour, I reckon. So she's passed out anyway. Phones an ambulance. Meanwhile, Ardy and Aaron.
No, Summer phones the ambulance and Amy's passed out.
That's what I said. Listen. So Ardy and...
I did listen.
Oh, sorry. Okay, no, maybe I wasn't clear enough. Ardy and Aaron, meanwhile, are also fairly nearby, just outside of Speed Dial, and they're kind of squaring up to each other, because Aaron's like, you wrote that on my forehead, and Ardy's like, oh, I thought you didn't mind getting inked. You were up for it earlier in the evening.
Nice.
And Aaron's like, well, yeah, how could I? What? And you did. I was asleep when you did this. And the penny kind of drops for him, and Ardy's like, I thank you. That was very good.
This was so clever.
That was
so clever.
That was cleverly done. I liked.
He fell right into the trap.
Yep.
What?
Yeah, and then the ambulance, before they can get much further, that comes screaming past, and then they follow it to go and find Amy as well. But yeah, I thought that was a great little move.
So clever.
Well done, Corrie writers. Nice and little analogy there.
I hope this analogy worked on some of the people who didn't get it at home, because there are still some people that don't get what he did.
But Amy was raped.
How could this analogy not be any clearer?
So Steve and Tracy show up at the hospital. Was this the day that Steve was wearing his cap, or was that Monday?
He wore a baseball.
I'm not going to
cap.
ask, did anybody else notice Steve's cap? Because everybody noticed Steve's cap. What was going on with Steve's cap? Was he trying to hide his widow's peak, or was there some kind of hair continuity going on?
I'm sure
there?
It was continuity. I saw some people making various accusations regarding hair status, but the fact that he was back to normal on Friday makes me think that he just got his hair cut, and then they had to do some more filming.
It stood out like such a sore thumb, didn't it?
It was weird because he doesn't normally wear hats. That's the trouble.
No. I wonder whether people would have noticed more or less if they'd have just shown his hair magically shrinking or getting longer or whatever backwards.
I really wouldn't notice.
I know, I don't think I would either. But that hat is like, it's just, it might as well have had a flashing light and a siren on the top of it. Like,
going, look at this.
Reduction. Anyway, so they're there and they're told that Amy is on a drip. And no, I'm not talking about Aaron there.
No. Next.
What? I thought you were just signalling to say something. Was I being too loud then?
Yeah, I was just telling you to stop shouting.
Oh, I didn't. Hey, look, we got a tiny little waveform. We're doing okay. So,
I know, but you'll get. It's my year I'm worried about.
Amy's on a drip. They're grateful for Summer for being there to help her. And this is when Summer admits to them that, yeah, you know, Amy said that she had a great time at the party on Monday. It was all lies. It was rubbish. And now Amy is saying that Aaron did indeed rape her. So, they go into the room later, hugs all round, and Amy says, sorry, Mum and Dad, for lying. I was just trying to block things out. I think, and she kind of has finally realised that she needs to just tell all, be open about it, out in the opens, and get some help, get some counselling. And Toya's ears prick up, probably saying, what's that counsellor required? I've not been in a story for about 6 months. I'll do it. And they're all just very proud of her for asking for help. So Amy's told she can go, and then for reasons that probably only make sense in his tiny little brain, Aaron comes to the door. He's like, hello, I just wanted to say hello. And Steve grabs him by the lapels, threatens to flatten him unless he does one. And then Amy says, look, it's going to be fine. Let me talk to him. You go, Mum and Dad. It's all going to be cool. And they're like, oh, okay then.
No, they don't.
What are they doing?
No, they don't.
Why didn't they say no?
Michael, she's a grown woman now. She can make her own decisions. Yeah,
she's still, I know, but I think she's still that little girl in their eyes.
They didn't want to.
Anyway.
They're trying their hardest to give her space when she asks for it.
Okay. So he says, once they're gone, look, I just came to say sorry. Oh, for what, says Amy? For being a rapist? For raping me? For raping me and get away with it? And he says, no, I didn't do it. I just, I'm just sorry that what happened to you today, that you've ended up in hospital. And I was watching that thinking, oh, no, it felt like he really wanted to say sorry for raping her and then just kind of bottled it, do you think? He won't admit he did it. No, he knows that he should be feeling sorry. He is probably feeling incredibly guilty, but when kind of push comes to shove, when the spotlight's on him, he can't admit what he's done. Amy
makes the point that I had made like a few weeks ago about the R word being too difficult to say, and she's like, you can't say it because it's just a not very nice word, isn't it? You don't want to associate yourself with that word. And it's true.
Yeah.
Which is why I was kind of surprised that Corrie didn't go as far as to put that on his forehead.
Oh well. Back at home.
There must be a reason.
Back at home.
Well, no, he just says she says, you know what you are. Doesn't she?
Yeah. She just really wants him to admit it. She says, I'm not recording this. There's nobody here. Nobody hiding, conveniently listening round the corner, as often happens in this programme. I just want to hear you admit it, just between me and you. Anybody won't. And he says, and this is when she says that you know what you are.
Yes.
So she goes home, tells Mum and Dad what happened, and they're like, I can't believe it. Even now he can look himself in the mirror. Meanwhile, at number 13. Aaron is there outside the back looking very tragic. So Friday, Summer goes to see Amy. Tracy's there being overly nice to her after everything that's happened, and it's kind of weirding them both out, isn't it? Yeah. And then they say, look, let's go to the cafe. I can't be dealing with it in here. So they're there in the cafe. Shona's enjoying the greatest hits of the early 90s. Then we had to rewatch this little line about 3 times, didn't we? Because what she said was, I've been told about the early 90s hits by Bernie. But I was convinced watching it back that she was saying that Fergus told me.
And then I thought,
did anybody else hear Fergus instead of Bernie? Is this 1984, 1994 again? I haven't got a slowed down version of this one, unfortunately, but it did take us 3 goes. What were you going to say? Okay, so anyway, Shona's there having a bit of a bop, And you saw her coming over to Amy with this big jug of coffee, didn't you? And you said, Shona's going to spill that coffee over Amy's laptop. And she didn't. But when the coffee cup is next to the laptop and Aaron happens to walk in again, Amy's completely freaked out by it, kind of jumps, and she ends up spilling the coffee all over this laptop. Whoops. What are they going to do? So Shona's like, I know what to do. Let's get some rice. I'll get some out of the back. You can keep it if you like. It's fine. Or was that Summer's idea? And Shona just lends the rice.
You can't think you can lend anybody rice.
You can't once rice is given.
Isn't that what happened to Alibaba?
What is it? What?
When they said, can we borrow a measuring cup to measure this rice? And their neighbour said, yeah, fine. But she was suspicious and she put grease on it. And then they returned the cup, but it had a gold coin stuck to it. And she knew they weren't measuring rice at all.
I don't know
they were measuring gold coins.
I have not read Arabian
Nights. And they were too stupid to notice that coin. That's bothered me for about 35 years, that story. Doesn't make any sense.
Oh, well. Okay, so she gets this laptop on rice, heads home. Still dead, though. I kind of thought that you had to leave it there for
you cannot,
days.
You have to turn it off immediately, turn it upside down to let the liquid drain out, and then you put it in rice maybe, but you don't open it for or turn it on for at least a day.
It didn't even look like it was completely covered, did it?
No.
I would have thought, fully submerged.
Well, they closed
in
the
a
lid
packet
down.
Of Uncle Ben's.
You've just... Don't call that. You don't close the lid down because all the skunk's inside then.
Yeah.
Amateurs.
Yeah, I was going to say. Amateurs, more like.
Take it to a computer repair shop and get the hard drive taken out.
Isn't the downstairs of where the lawyer's office is? Isn't downstairs like IT solutions? Take it over there.
Maybe that was the solution. Put it in rice.
It's literally next door to the cafe, isn't it?
Yeah,
or there's computer doctors just right next to us. I know all this. All right, we'll self-diagnose here. So anyway, it's not done anything. It's dead. Amy's mega stressed out because apparently she's not saved her work to the cloud or anything, which I thought was just the way forward for kids these days. It's us crumblies that still save things on our hard drive that have got things to worry about, isn't it, when things go wrong?
Well, you do this all the time. You write in Notepad and you don't save it.
Notepad
doesn't automatically save, and then Michael will go, I just wrote 2 hours worth of things.
It saves on the Mac. When I'm doing that, it does. But Notepad is my favourite application. It's just so handy. Anyway, so Amy's mega stressed out, and Summer and Tracy are saying, look, you just need to tell the university what's been going on with you. Let them know. And she's like, I don't really want to. But then there is a mysterious knock at the door, and her laptop has been delivered, sorry. And we'd already had one story in today's episode, which was, what's the mysterious note? Who was it that delivered this? Oh, and then they say who it was about 10 minutes later. And this one, it's like, there's a mysterious laptop. I suppose the problem here is it could only really have been Aaron that had done this, couldn't it?
It's obviously Aaron.
Yeah. And Amy, it doesn't take too long for Amy to realise that this is who it is. And she's like, I'm not having this. She boxes it back up, heads out to the garage to confront Aaron. And he's like, what? You think that buying a laptop is going to make things better? All I need for you to do is tell the truth. I don't need your laptops. I don't need your presents. Just tell the world what happened. Well, no, she doesn't want the world telling,
She just wants him to admit to her.
Yeah. Because she must be thinking that she's going crazy.
I don't know if that's the case, but that could be it. But she just wants the validation.
Yeah. She knows that she's right. But she knows that some people think that she's not, so it's...
Well, no, I don't really know who doesn't believe her apart from the police. And the police just said we don't have any evidence.
Mm. Anyway, that's Abby at this time as well, although...
Abby knows what Amy told her last, which was what she heard last about it, was that Amy said it didn't happen.
Yeah. So Amy goes back home as another good old moan about Aaron before turning her attentions back to this university course that she's mid-flunking. She kind of mulls over, maybe the idea of dropping out, and Tracy says, look, please, just tell your professors what's going on. So she does. Goes off to university, comes back, she's told her tutor, Professor Williams or whatever it was, and a plan has been put in place for her to catch up with her work. Hooray, they all hug, everything's lovely. And the only other thing we had happen with that episode is Aaron and Abby at the garage later, and she kind of, it's maybe, she got, is there something you're not telling me? Have you got a guilty conscience or something? You're looking a bit...
Well, why did you buy her a bloody laptop?
Yeah, exactly. And he's
got
like...
a guilty conscience.
No, look, I just was being a mate to her. I thought it'd maybe get me back in her good books, because she obviously hates my guts at the moment. That is all, though. Definitely didn't rape her.
How's he got this money?
Well, these executive mechanics, they probably get to pay the big bucks.
He couldn't afford rent, and now he's paying for a laptop.
Well, it's all the rent that he's saving by probably staying at Abby's.
Being a free babysitter.
Yeah. So, there we go. That's what happened in that story. Still very much enjoyable, I would say, but Wednesday was getting close to being far too bleak and miserable for my liking. But for what it lost there, all the stuff with Ardy on Monday's episode with the penning on the head was just fantastic.
I really like how switched on Ardy is.
Well, yeah, he's had a wobble, hasn't he? Because he was on Aaron's side for a bit, genuinely.
Was he educated by the Weatherfield High consent classes?
I'm guessing
where
he
he's
was.
Got this from?
Probably.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him. It gives you hope, doesn't it? That the younger generations are being educated about this kind of thing.
Yeah, they are, definitely.
I saw a good post on our Facebook group that Lisa wrote, and she said she's wondering whether Aaron is using, alcohol in the same way that his father
good point.
Drinking and violence flowing off the handle and stuff.
Yeah. Cut from the same cloth, chip off the old block.
And then we have Steve saying that maybe it's a coping mechanism he's picked up from his dad. Yeah. So it is really interesting to think about those. Maybe that's where this story is going. Maybe it is Aaron is going to realise that he is in danger of falling into the same trap as his dad and letting alcohol ruin his life in a different way. I don't want that to be a get out of jail free card for, it wasn't me, it was the demon drink. But, they were both very drunk and you make bad decisions. I don't think that absolves him.
It seems like Coronation Street doesn't want to get him prosecuted for this, because they're making a big song and dance about the fact that 5% of rape accusations ends up in a conviction.
They're not making a song and dance about it, they're pointing it out.
Yeah, okay. But so I think it'd be disingenuous to say
what?
I don't think it'd be genuine to say that, to show that he was getting arrested. I think where this seems to be angling towards now, from what Amy was saying, is if he does admit to her and maybe other people, I guess, for the drama, that yes, he did do it, and then he makes a undignified exit from Weatherfield, that would be a satisfying ending to the story. That's right. And I think it probably would, to be honest.
But I find that statistic, so is that the actual statistic, or is that
it's like very low like that, isn't it? We need Tracy to plaster our close with posters with stats to let us know.
The thing that's frustrating about that statistic is that it's used to bash women, to say, that women always lie about rape, and if it was as bad as they all say it was, then why are the conviction rates so low? And that's not because it didn't happen. It's because you can't. The way everything is set up, it's impossible to get a conviction. And that's even before you take into account. I don't know what the situation is in the UK, but I know that in America there are stacks and decades of rape kits that just are never processed.
How much longer do you think that this story's got? Because it feels like it's kind of close to reaching its conclusion now, and I don't usually make guesses about things like this, but it feels like it's gone.
Say anything?
Do you know anything?
No, I don't know anything.
I think it just needs to have kind of the final step of him saying it, because Amy's got her life back on track.
I don't want to necessarily lose Aaron. I think that it's easy for Corrie to fall into this trap of, here's a bad person, did a bad thing, and they have to go now because they're bad. real life isn't like that, is it?
No, but I think he's
you can't
be
redeem
gone at the end of
him.
this.
You can't. Yeah, I know, but I would argue that the thing is about Coronation Street or any kind of show like this is that if Aaron did stay, then at some point everyone would forget what had happened, or we don't want that to happen. But equally, having a complicated character like Aaron sticking around and not actually being, in inverted commas, the villain would actually be quite interesting.
Yeah.
Because where do you go? If you're Aaron, where do you go from here?
Well,
he's so young and he's made this awful mistake, and even if he doesn't get convicted, it's still, like he says on his record. Where do you go? I'm not saying
away from Weatherfield.
I'm not saying sympathy or redemption. I'm just literally asking the question, and would it be an interesting thing? I don't know.
I wonder. I mean, we could very well see him really hitting rock bottom about this, and maybe they will try and go so far as to getting us to try and have a bit of sympathy with him. Because he is it would be very easy
a
nice character, and one that lots of people kind of liked a bit. Obviously he's got Abby on his side as well, which is Corrie's way of saying he's not completely irredeemable. I don't know.
You don't want to ever sort of feel like or be in danger of hand waving this sort of thing away.
No. Anyway, good stuff. I thought the performances were fantastic. I thought the bit where Amy started attacking him at the party, I loved. Amy Mulvaney was yet again brilliant this week.
It was a good demonstration though of the incredible physical difference between Aaron and Amy.
Oh yeah, I know.
Like
absolutely.
even if she fought him, even if it was everyone's traditional idea of what a rape is, which is a man holding a woman down.
Yeah.
She wouldn't have been able to stop him anyway, would she? She was barely. It was like watching a butterfly batting against a window.
Yeah. She was great. I'm thinking that Tracy, I'm still waiting to get. I need her to have a story where she gets just a bit more of that bite back.
Well, it was interesting when you were reading the story out and you were recounting the events that had happened, and at one point you just call Steve and Tracy mum and dad, and I was thinking in my head, Steve and Tracy were like major characters of Coronation Street for a long time, and now they're just mum and dad in this story.
They need to have a decent story of their own where Tracy can get a bit of that fire back.
But I'm really enjoying them in this story though.
Yeah, I think they're fine.
It's very interesting because we're seeing a few sort of long-term Corrie characters who we've kind of almost grown up with in a sense, now acting as parents. So these two, and also David with Max.
Funny, isn't it?
It is really interesting, and I guess people who are watching this who have become parents themselves are probably appreciating, seeing perhaps themselves, or wondering if I once was young and free like Tracy and Steve used to be. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, right. Next story. Stephen Reed, Gemma, your favourite.
Steven.
A little bit of light-hearted stuff here. Steven. What's going on with them?
Our beloved saint, Uncle Stephen, has just been maligned by people this week, and he should kill them all. On Wednesday, Audrey meets Stephen in the street, and she's like, "Can I have my car back, please? I want my independence back." And he's like, "Oh." And Jenny's there as well, and she's making fun of Stephen, and also agreeing with Audrey that he should just give his mum his bloody car back. And Elaine says, "Oh, it's nothing to do with you." And Stephen tells Jenny that she's right, and then Elaine gets her back up because she's Stephen's special friend, not Jenny. And at the cafe, Elaine, you know how? Why is Elaine and Stephen always having breakfast in the cafe?
I know.
Ugh. I'm jealous. Anyway,
I guess it's because they don't live together at the moment, do they? He got Stephen living at Audrey's house. Elaine lives with Sally and Tim, so they have a little before work meet-up.
Elaine tells Stephen, I was upset that you sided with Jenny. And he says, I was just trying to make my mum happy. You're still my top girl. Oh, if only he would say that to me. Stephen is in the factory and he's like, everybody, we got to give the 100% focus. We got this nipper snapper order. It's coming up. And then all the lights go off, and this was weird. This didn't go anywhere.
Did it? Are we sure it didn't?
Why?
I mean, Wednesday's episode, I was, as I said, not a big fan of that one, and there were bits that I can't say I was giving my 100% attention to. But as far as I'm concerned,
yes,
and maybe I should have watched it again.
Yes,
the whole thing with the lights going off was all for nothing.
Maybe something will come of it later. But anyway, the lights go out. They don't know why. The generator kicks in. Phew.
Yeah, gripping stuff this was.
In the pub, Jenny's making fun of Stephen for driving his mum's car. Bit of internalised misogyny there, Jen, but hey, that's fine. We all know. We've all been there. There's a bit of flirting going on. And Stephen goes back to the house and Elaine apologises and gives him some flowers and says, I just want people to know about the fact we're engaged. Can we not tell our families? He's like, I can't talk about it now. And she thinks she's being fobbed off, which she is a bit, but he says, I'll talk about it tomorrow. But on Friday, he's distracted because he's got a brand new car. Where did he get the money for this?
Nipper snapper, innit?
Well, he shows Michael this swish new car, and then Elaine is talking to Tim about the Red Bank apartment that they're supposedly buying together. And the paperwork's going to be ready soon and everything. And Sally's all excited, but Tim's not really, because he thinks she's moving too fast in this relationship with Stephen. And as much as I hate to say it, he is right. But, at that age, you got to move fast.
Exactly, I was going to say.
The American investors, they're not American, the investors on behalf of the Americans come to the factory. And Stephen's like sort of casually going through the post while Sally's banging on about, I don't know, flesh or something. And he sees an envelope. It's got his name written on it, and it's not got an address. It hasn't got a postage stamp bearing the countenance of benevolent new sovereign. It's been hand delivered. So he opens it up, and inside there's just a handwritten letter that says, "I know what you did to Rufus." And I was like, oh yeah, what's this? Who's this? What's happening?
I know, for a lovely 10 minute
so...
period, you're like, oh, who could it be?
Oh, this is fun.
I was like thinking, oh, it's probably just going to be Paul, isn't it? So it's not that exciting, but at least things are moving, and we were right to think that maybe he saw something. But I thought, oh, maybe it's not. Maybe could it be Uncle Ronnie? Oh, I don't know. Could it be the housekeeper? Could it be someone else who knows
something else? Could it be Anthony Cotton's mum?
Yeah, could it be somebody talking about something else that he's done to Rufus? But no, not really. It was somebody who you'd genuinely never have guessed.
If it was Paul that wrote this letter, would that be a more cheerful way to end Paul's story? Just having Stephen kill him?
Oh yeah, maybe.
Would that just please everybody and nobody all at once? Anyway, so Stephen's obviously a bit distracted while they're all waffling on. I don't think this man's ever had a meeting he's paid full attention to. He's either on drugs or worrying about murdering people.
Yeah, he is, isn't he?
Who hasn't been there on a Friday?
Yeah, either he's on drugs or he's trying to give someone else drugs. But, he did still able to...
pull off a business move.
Yeah, managed to get out a load more cash out of them at the end, didn't he? By, what did he say?
He said, I don't know. We'll do better slogans.
Oh no, they wanted
they wanted it done in July.
They wanted it done by the end of July, and he says you got to pay more money so we can get more staff money. On. Yeah.
Cotton doesn't grow on trees. They go to the pub, and then when they're in the pub, this guy Owen, who is one of the investors, he's flirting very openly with Jenny.
I know.
Getting her number. And the woman who he's with, I don't know her name, she's like, we're trying to be professional business people. Meanwhile, Stephen's just like downing a pint. She must be thinking...
he's trying to steal his bird. And to make things worse with Stephen, Jenny's acting just as coquettish as she had been when Stephen was flirting with her. So he's probably thinking, oh, does she do this? Does she do this to all the guys? I thought I was special.
I used to be the face of Pom Delight.
Is Stephen going to bump off Owen next for no other reason than to stop him bonking his bird?
Especially anonymous people on Coronation Street. Do not mess with Stephen. All you people you're all dispensable, highly dispensable. So, Tim's looking at this paperwork with Elaine to do with buying the flat. And he's like, Stephen's name's not even on this. Why? And and he says, it's not like you're going to get married, is it? And she's like, ooh.
Yeah, she starts off saying, oh, well, me and Stephen, we're together now. We do everything together. Yeah.
And he's like, no, hang on. And then she lets it slip.
Well, she can't really deny it, can she? She's
got to explain it herself, but I don't know why she is. Don't get people involved. Don't involve your family in stuff if you're not willing to talk to them about it. That's what I say. Just keep them in the dark.
She was willing to talk. She just didn't
Why is she talking to Tim about it? He's boring.
Son.
Boring. Sorry, Tim, you're boring. That's what I'd say. Stephen and Co get back to the factory, and these the dodgy geezers that he bought the LSD off of in the ginnel of
dealers.
In the ginnel of the precinct are back, and they're lurking, but they don't have anywhere to lurk because they're sort of standing in the corner. And they say,
they're lurking shifty.
We heard about Rufus's death, and it was us who sent you the letter. And everyone around the country is like, oh.
Yeah, so they've got a newspaper, haven't they, showing a picture of Stephen and Rufus shaking hands. Like, you knew this guy, and he's hooked out of a pool with LSD in his system. Obviously, it was you that killed him, and that was a bit of a stretch.
Was incredibly tenuous,
yeah.
And I was
especially considering that that Rufus is on LSD quite a bit.
He was the one that was buying it in the first place.
Exactly.
Wasn't he the one who told him who the dealers were?
No, I don't. Well, maybe.
Well, no, I think
he just loitered around. Himself. Yeah, drug dealers are always lurking around children's parks. You'd only have to wait there 5 minutes, and one of them comes along.
Sweet enough.
Yeah, so I think Stephen's initial reaction to, you don't know what you're talking about, these are just baseless accusations. I mean, yes, we knew that they had got it right on the nose there, but actually, if I was Stephen, I probably would have said, you have got absolutely no reason to believe this. You're making wild leaps of logic here.
I'm very glad this is where that went, because when Stephen was listening to them saying, we know you did it, give us £10,000, we're going to go to the police, I was like, this is rubbish. Why are they doing, let's go down this route here with these idiots. Like, this is flimsy as hell. This is stupid. This is, transparently, obviously bad. Nobody would ever... for a start, I don't think anyone would be stupid enough to believe that they had enough evidence here to blackmail anybody. But move that to one side. And then, would Stephen really fall for this? So I was getting mad in advance of this. Going, no, Stephen's not going to be brought down by these two... faceless goons.
No, he's going to get brought down by Tim Jammer.
No, he's not. He's going to murder Tim. So he tells them it's a load of rubbish. I didn't kill anybody. And they said, and they sort of go to leave. And he says, hang on, give me time.
Yeah, because they're saying, oh, fine, if you're not going to
we're going to go and tell on you then. We're going to go and tell Miss on you. So he says, they say, we'll meet you at the precinct in an hour. So, meanwhile, Tim and Elaine are still having an argument. When Sally comes home and hears that Elaine wants to marry Stephen, and she's like, oh, congratulations, she thinks it's fine. So Stephen turns up, sees the guys in the precinct. First of all, he sees Shona, and I was like, oh, if he murders them, then Shona's going to be involved in this. But no, she just wanted to eat her cream horn.
Yeah, her cream horn from the rival bakery. And I think this was the very first scene that we've had up on the upstairs of the precinct, isn't it? Because the two lads are hanging around leaning over the railings. So there you go, there's a first. Stephen, first Coronation Street character, regular character, up on the railings of the precinct.
So he goes up to get the guys, and he's like, right, come with me. I'm not going to give you money. I'm not going to give drug dealers money in the precinct. I'll give it to you in the car. So he keeps giving all these sinister looks, doesn't he? In his windscreen, in his wing mirror. What's it called?
Yeah, rear view mirror.
Yeah, that's it. He drives them to the police station, and again, very short drive, and says, "Go on then, go on, get out and tell the police all your stupid theories. Rufus was just my friend. I would never kill him, and he also had mental health problems, and he was microdosing LSD. But he's like, go on then. I didn't do it. You'll get taken in for questioning. You'll be in trouble. You're drug dealers. I'll come out, and then I'll find you, and I will kill you." And they're like, "Oh no!" And they run away. I mean,
I was a bit disappointed that it kind of went this way. I was thinking maybe he is going to take them out to the woods and add them to his collection.
I'm glad this didn't go any further with the blackmailing stakes here. And, you know, it feels like Stephen's always on the cusp of being blackmailed.
Yeah.
But he manages to wriggle his way out of
life of crime.
But, yeah, these two were jokers.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he intimidated them, and this is also an escalation in a sense for Stephen, because before we've seen him, when he's confronted, he panics. So the first time he was confronted in wrongdoing with Leo, and he kills him by accident.
Mm-hmm.
Second time, he's confronted by Teddy, and he kills him out of desperation. The third time he's confronted by Rufus, and he calculatingly doses him up and then drowns him in a very kind of cold, calculating way.
Yeah.
Now he's being a bit more clever, and he knows that he doesn't have to kill these two. He can just intimidate them, and he's emboldened by his, you know, serial killing ways to know that he literally could find them and kill them.
Yeah.
And Todd Boyce really projected that kind of menace through that scene. I just love this so much. It's so camp and brilliant. I love it.
It is quite fun.
Team Stephen.
As much as I don't like these two being involved in it today, I do almost hope that they'll kind of be involved at least for a little bit in the future. Otherwise it might seem like it was a bit of a little caper for Stephen with no particular moving forward. It was
a bit of a sort of one and done kind of story.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm happy with where it went, and I felt like this was a demonstration of how far Stephen has sort of grown in his villainy. To me, it just felt like he was more in control, and every time he does something bad, he sort of feels a bit more confident in himself, and now perhaps he's actually a more scary guy than he was at the beginning because of how controlled he is now.
Yeah.
So Stephen goes back to Tim and Sally's house, and Tim's not having this, that he and his mum are getting married, and he's like, oh well, you know, there's an age gap, 5-year age gap. What are you on? Who cares? It doesn't matter at all. First of all, it doesn't matter. Secondly, as they rightly pointed out to Tim and Sally, they've got an age gap as well.
Well, also I agreed with what Tim and Tim said to Sally, was that once the two people involved in the relationship are of a certain age, it becomes less and less.
Well, that's what Tim.
Problem.
Why did Tim say that?
Oh no, maybe Tim didn't say it.
It wasn't Tim, was it? Because it was his argument.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I'm falling asleep here.
Well, just close your eyes then. You don't need to get involved.
No,
this is Stephen's story.
I felt kind of bad for Elaine during this, because for a couple of scenes we had Stephen saying, what was it like? What was it? I can't remember.
Well, Stephen. Tim's having a go, saying, "Oh, you know, why are you going out with her?" And Steve's like, "Excuse me, how dare you? Your mum is attractive. She's attractive. She's good in bed. She's funny. She can do the crosswords. She's hilarious. She's great at finding bargains. She's got a little app on her phone. We get free bakery item with every £50 we spend. I can't really stop praising her for how brilliant she is." And Tim's like, oh.
Tim's like, I can't believe that you would ever fancy my mum.
I know, that was a really bad...
It's like a real kind of heavy implication that my mum is so unfanciable.
My mum's a crusty old hag.
Yeah.
Why would you want to marry her? And Stephen really puts him in his place, like... Of course I want to marry her. Look at her, she's great. I mean, everyone at home's going, yeah, I don't really get it, but whatever. He kind of implies also, Tim, that Stephen's being a bit of a gold digger. Mm. But Steve's like, I just got a new car. I didn't need money.
I'm looking forward to seeing what Jenny's reaction's going to be when that engagement goes public, which will surely be next week, I would have thought.
I'm still not 100% sure why Stephen's going for this. Because, yes, he wants to move out of his mum's house, but also he's got a successful business venture here. He's making money. He's got this car. He's on the up now. He doesn't really need Elaine.
There's no such thing as having too much money. I think he's just trying to get after a cash.
Yeah, I know, but he could get after Jenny's cash. Jenny's got a pub.
I think Elaine's got more.
Yeah, probably. So he defends this relationship between him and Elaine, and he does a really good job of it, actually, and he kind of makes Tim look like a big arsehole. And Elaine and Stephen are sort of hurt, and they leave in a huff, and Elaine tells Stephen in the pub, I don't want Tim at the wedding, and Stephen says, well, let's get married in Vegas, and Elaine's like, yeah, let's get married in Vegas, and I'm sure Tim would love this because he doesn't think Vegas weddings are real.
Well, if they do, that will make them the third Metcalves to get married in Vegas, and yet Elaine still wasn't kind of sure on the details, was she? Jasmine and Jeff got married in Vegas, Tim and Charlie got married in Vegas.
It does seem like a bizarre, like in Coronation Street, if you don't get married in Weatherfield, you get married in Gretna Green or Vegas.
I know.
So
I don't really buy that Elaine would go for that, to be honest. She seems to me a bit more of a traditional kind of girl.
But she was also very impulsive. At the moment.
Yeah.
Elaine's like, yeah, great. And then Tim comes in and she says, I don't want anything to do with you. And then she goes off to the loo, and Tim and Stephen are left there. And Tim says, the only way you're marrying my mum is over my dead body. And Stephen gets this very cold look on his face and he says, I hope it doesn't come to that.
If I was Steve and if I was Tim, and Stephen said that to me, I'd be like,
what do you mean?
What do you mean by that?
I know,
you gave a dramatic pause after you said it for the music to start, but now it's over. What were you implying?
No, but it does work because he obviously means it in a metaphorical way, and the implication is that I won't speak to either of you, and Stephen's supposedly responding to that, whereas actually he's responding to the literal threat.
He should have just burst out into a Dr. Evil style laughter.
He should have just gone. Some days you just can't find your hole punch.
So you still enjoyed this week, did you?
Love you, Uncle Stephen.
What do you think is going to happen with this wedding? Do you think Stephen's plan now is to push Elaine into the Grand Canyon or something and pass it off as a tragic accident? Because
the thing is, even if they get married and if if everything's in her name, he still needs to get in the will, doesn't he? So getting married is important, but it's not as important as being in the will.
I can't remember how much you'll automatically get transferred stuff from your spouse.
Well, there's definitely room to argue, isn't there, about who her next of kin is, especially if she hasn't updated her will, which would assume leaves everything to lovely Timmy.
Well, yeah, and now she's had this fallout with Tim, hasn't she?
Take him out the will.
She didn't want Tim in her yeah, exactly.
When you're an old lady, that's your only
it's your only bargaining chip, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll take you out the will.
Yeah, and could come any time soon now, Yeah, so I don't know. I'm getting less and less believing that he's actually going to bump Elaine off.
I want him to kill Tim, and I know he's not going to.
Not
so it's
going
just
to kill
me.
Tim. Stop getting your hopes up.
It's just sad.
Anything else about this one? Were you expecting at all that he was going to murder those teenagers today?
It was a storm in a teacup.
I would have thought it would have had a little bit of publicity, and it has only been 3
They've got
weeks
to leave
since his
it.
last
It
victim.
can't escalate this quickly. I think we need a cooling off period here to let him stop killing people. But really, honestly, I love how with Stephen, they've got it to the stage now where you have to, every single time he's in a scene with somebody who says something he doesn't like, you're thinking, he's gonna kill you.
I know.
Watch out! And now his list is just growing. It's like Father Christmas naughty list. It's like Owen's on it, Tim's on it, these 2 teenagers are on it, Elaine's on it.
Yeah.
Who knows who's next?
Well, I think he could do like a bump off a person a week, couldn't he? And still keep us going for a little while.
Well, there's plenty of people in the cast.
Right. Moving on then, we have got the at last light-hearted and kind of fun, but with still a slight sinister edge because Hope was in it. The Sam and Eliza storyline, and we were left last week with us kind of wondering, is Sam carrying a bit of a torch? Has he got a little bit of teenage crush on young Eliza? And there certainly seems to be development in their friendship this week. So Sam and Hope see Eliza after school, and Sam's like, oh, we should hang out together. We had so much fun together last week. And Hope's like, oh, I'm not really keen on this. But anyway, they all agree to go to his house to meet up together. And I think this is where Hope and Eliza were walking down the Rovers, and then Hope's like, ask me what my dad did for a living or something. He was a massive serial killer.
I love that.
Just the delivery of it was fantastic.
I'm still waiting for there to be
massive serial killer.
Some kind of development about the fact that her mum and Gran are in prison.
Oh yeah, there will be. They haven't
I know, but it felt like
that.
that would have been a really appropriate.
Yes, that would have been a bit of a comeback, wouldn't it? But I thought that this was just about. This is the sort of filler that is absolutely pleasant and lovely and nice and fun to
More
watch.
of this.
Not George making boats. And that's literally all that happened for a couple of scenes.
I don't mind that either.
This was like 4 or 5 scenes an episode, but it was all cracking.
I'd honestly rather have a week of Sam, Hope and Eliza like negotiating their new weird love triangle than Paul slowly dying.
Oh gosh, yeah, me too. So they go back to number 9, do a bit of karaoke. Well, Hope is hogging the karaoke, isn't she?
She's showing off.
Being a bit of a show off about it, and
sort of thing
making Eliza give her a jar of coffee as an award or something.
This is the sort of thing that didn't you used to do when you were a kid, like, or you would invite.
I'm gonna say no.
No, but invite someone back, like, hey, come to my house and watch me play Mario, or like kids just love.
Oh yeah, I'm still like that nowadays, aren't I?
Watch me
play my new game.
Yeah, exactly. It's just it's a really kind of sweet and wholesome and also not so wholesome kind of weird drive that kids have.
Tyrone was there watching on the sofa, wasn't he? Finding it all very sweet and amusing. And anyway, then Eliza says, look, maybe let's do something else now. And Sam says, well, I can teach you to play chess or something. And Eliza's well up for that because she has apparently managed to get this far in life without learning where all the pieces go in chess.
Who doesn't know how to play chess?
And so, yeah, she's... And Hope has got her nose put right out of joint by this. She's like, buddy, how dare. So this really is just a little love triangle story, isn't
I'm really
it?
sorry.
It's
and also,
so cute.
This is obviously reflects very poorly upon me, but I really identify with Hope.
Do you?
Like, why isn't everyone paying attention to me? Like, sulking in the corner because she's not the centre of attention, and like desperately trying to get them to like
get this boy to
and
like
being
her.
super jealous too. Also, of somebody having a friendship that it kind of excludes you too.
They were kind of dating, weren't they? They did the whole handy-holdy thing and going out to the cinema and everything. So I don't really blame her.
Sam's a player,
and they are old enough to kind of understand the boyfriend girlfriend kind of thing and how that might look.
Even little first school kids know what girlfriend and boyfriend means.
Yeah, so when you're in the first year of secondary school, I mean, Sam, he's been a bit naive if he thinks that Hope is cool with him doing all of this kind of stuff.
Don't play chess with another girl.
So Hope it shows shows Sam what a hot woman she is by teaching him the secret upside down biscuit eating technique.
And he works on chocolate coated biscuits.
Yeah. I had a chocolate digestive at school today, and I tried it.
Did
this
you try
way.
it?
Oh yeah.
Was it better?
It was about the same.
Can I just tell everybody that this is also how you're supposed to eat nigiri?
Is it?
You eat the fish side down.
Oh, okay.
Because it touches your tongue first.
So yeah, this is how kids try and impress each other. This is her her dating technique.
I can't wait to see what she does with the jammy dodger.
Oh yeah. And anyway, so Sam thinks it's great, so he's back on her side again.
I'll give Hope a tip. With jammy dodgers, what I like to do is I eat around so I'm left just with the heart.
Oh yeah, me.
Because the heart's the best bit because it's mostly jam.
No biscuit in the way. Anyway, that's kind of it with that. Stu comes to collect Eliza in the end, and Hope can't get rid of her quick enough.
She like throws the coat. She's trying to like force her arms into the coat to get her out.
It's so funny.
And then she goes and
hilarious how jealous she is of this girl.
She sits on the stairs and sulks watching. And they're saying, oh, why don't we do this again? And she's like, bloody hope not.
Well, she's on Wednesday got this mega revenge plan to presumably try and humiliate Eliza in front of all the cool girls at school. I mean, not that Hope is Miss Popular herself.
When I was watching this, I was thinking, not that long ago, Hope was being bullied at school and desperately trying to get everyone to accept her.
I know. So anyway, what happens on Wednesday's episode? We have these jollities at Nadizia's that are interrupted from a text from Weatherfield High. Well, just general Stu and Yasmin and Eliza and egg throwing and things like this. And Stu gets this message from them, and I don't know what time of the morning this is supposed to be that they're sending this message saying, yeah, that's fine. Your daughter can come and live here. Not live here, can come to school here.
Be clear about what you're saying.
Well, I'm trying to be.
There's a text.
There's a text from Weatherfield High saying, Eliza can come to school here. We have got a place for her. Hooray. And so Stu says, oh, well, maybe, it's your birthday coming up soon. Stu and Yasmin are saying, maybe we can have a party with Sam and Hope, and they can suggest some new friends for you, and they can come along as well. And they have a lovely hug. What on earth could go wrong here?
I thought you were going to say is that Stu was like, oh, it's your birthday soon. You can have going to a new school as your present. Because, uniforms don't buy themselves.
You're welcome. So Tyrone thinks this is a great idea as well. And we see the kids in the cafe later. And Eliza's like, I don't really know, but Hope's kind of got her heart set on Eliza having a stretch limo for her birthday, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And she says, oh yeah, it's what your mum would want you to. That's what all the cool kids are having these days. And it's to be honest, isn't it? And she says, so Yasmin goes back to ask Stu and Yasmin for this limo, and Stu's Eliza does, and she's like, well, okay, well, if that's what you want. And Hope's like, this is going to be brilliant. There's going to be glitter, there's going to be manicures, going to be all the cool girls from the school. It's going to be brilliant. And Eliza's like nodding away with Hope smiling evilly at whatever it is that she's concocted here.
I recall this is how Carrie went.
Oh yeah, there could be a little bit of sheep's blood, couldn't there? Mm-hmm. What do you imagine is going to happen here?
I just kind of thought that Hope was just trying to get stuff out of Eliza that she wanted to do.
She wants a stretch limo. So
she wants glitter. She wants manicures. So she's going to use Eliza to get them.
But what she really wants is Sam, isn't it? So she needs Eliza to be out the picture. She needs Eliza to say, oh, I don't want to go to Weatherfield High anymore, or I'm going to go back to my Catholic school or whatever, and then she won't have Sam hanging around her.
I think for Hope, it's almost as much about making sure that Eliza doesn't get Sam than Hope gets Sam.
Yeah. And in order for that to happen, she needs to be utterly humiliated by all the cool people at school. So I don't know how she's going to do this.
No, I don't want to guess too much because I just want to watch and see the chaos.
Yeah, it's so much fun. This is out of everything.
Hope's
fantastic. This was my favourite story of the week. I think it was just really, really cute.
And it's also really,
I'm a bit sad that it wasn't on today.
Human too, because Hope is really. I find it really relatable. Honestly, she is acting in this story. Some of the things she's gotten up to are kind of fantastical, and how can you relate to a little girl whose dad's a serial killer, and the only way she can learn about what it was like as a person is listening to him talking about Wuthering Heights. not so relatable. But being jealous of other people being friends and also being carried away and being really self-centered.
Yeah.
Like, everyone was kind of like that when they were little.
I can't wait to see what Hope is like when she's older. She's doing this now and she's like great. 12 or so. What's she going to be like when she's 16, 17, 18 and older?
I remember how
she's going to be the new Tracy.
I was about Amy when she was little and she started channeling Blanche. But, you know, Hope now, she's got Evelyn, she's got the spirit of John Stape, and she's also got the pyromaniac streak. I think she's going to be a great character. Right,
I just hope that they don't, you know, stretch her too thin before she even gets a chance. You know, I don't want the joke
it's danger.
Yeah.
Acid Ryan.
Yeah.
Monday. Carla notices Ryan's a bit more down compared to yesterday, and he says he's fine, but he's just in pain a little bit. And so Carla goes to the pub and tells Daisy that Ryan's finding things a bit difficult. So when Ryan's watching telly later, he texts Crystal, who he thinks is Crystal, about what he's watching.
It's really Daisy.
But it turns out that Crystal has been texting him. So when Carla gets back home, he's happy, and obviously it's because Daisy's been sort of prompted by Carla saying that he's a bit down.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'll cheer him up by texting him.
Yeah.
This can't go wrong.
Nothing particularly new there this week, was it? Just more of I think it's kind of been left for a little while, just for us to say that, you know, when they come back to the storyline in 1, 2, 3 weeks time, these texts have been continuing, and it feels like Daisy's gonna start having some feelings for Ryan.
I really hope not.
I think.
Can I just say that there's an unspoken kind of juxtaposition here between the situations of Ryan and Paul, because Ryan doesn't have a job. He's being supported by Carla, and he's being allowed to sort of recuperate from what he's gone through. And yes, it's awful, but he's being given the space and the time that he needs to get over what's happened to him, because of the economic status of the family that he comes from. Now, sort of compare that to Paul, who's desperately trying to get as much money as he can, sort of turn to crime because he can't imagine how he's going to earn money if he can't work, because he uses his body to...
Yeah, well, he's not going to get a job using his mind, is he? Come on, let's be fair.
That's really horrible.
Not going to be doing the numbers and the letters on Countdown.
I don't know how much Coronation Street wants us to compare Paul and Ryan, but in my mind, that really feels like they are on a similar path in a sense, in a broad sense, is that they're both kind of suffering with a physical disability at the moment. And, you know, on the one hand, you know, Ryan will get better, but he'll always have a scar. Paul is destined for an incredibly tragic end. They're both similar ages. Yeah. I don't know how deliberate this is. I think it's...
Ian McLeod's just like, complete coincidence. I just wasn't feeling a bit unoriginal with my ideas, actually.
Oh, shut up. That's not what I'm trying to say.
No, I know I'm not. I'm joking.
What I am saying, though, is that there's an opportunity here to compare them, and I don't know how much Coronation Street is going to tease out those differences.
They don't really have any characters in common, particularly, do they?
There's nothing similar about them except the age.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're both in hospital, and the fact they've both got brown hair.
Yeah. Okay, so the Kit and Kerfuffle storyline. I mean, it literally is. George gets a model boat kit. He's out of sorts over breakfast on Wednesday, because Rest Easy, the rival funeral directors, are undercutting them, and he's just kind of miserable. And Eileen says, well, you're working too hard, you need to find a hobby. And Billy says, you know, first suggestion, how about model making, because one of my parishioners is into doing that kind of thing. And George immediately is like, of course, that's what's been missing in my life all these years. Off to the toy shop I go, and he comes back with this huge golden hind model kit thing.
Well, it was specifically the model, the golden hind that Billy brought up was the one that...
He's so unoriginal with his thinking about this. You can't even come up with a different idea than the Billy's parishioner. And Friday's episode just seems to be various stages of him covering Eileen's living room with various bits of plastic and getting his fingers glued together. And then he gets them unglued. Do you remember a few years ago there was a story of somebody getting their hand trapped in a vase? I can't remember who it was. Maybe was it Emma? Get her hand trapped in a vase.
And then to do with Mary?
I can't remember. But I felt at the time that they missed an opportunity for various comedy caperings that Emma could have had with her hand in a vase, and this could have also led to similarly hilarious happenings. But instead, it was just like, oh no, it's fine now. He's got his hands slathered them in oil, and now back to the model making. And I'm like, what is this story?
Back in the day, they would have got a good half an hour's worth of action out of George's mishaps with his fingers stuck together.
Yeah. Could have been a whole episode. It'd been the one where George gets his fingers stuck together, but not these days. Nothing happened. But the Grimshaws, they're just the ultimate villa family in recent years, aren't they? And it's a shame because there's some really, really top quality actors there. I think Sue Cleaver's great. We got Tony Maudsley. We're just coming towards the end of watching Benidorm now, and he's been such a highlight, but it feels like the character of George is just not given anything really meaty to get his teeth into. And obviously Todd, legacy character, Gareth Peirce is fantastic as him, and they're just putting him in these tiny little, oh, he's bought a sofa that's too small, oh, he's snoring, oh, he's got a model boat. It's not exactly high stakes, is it? Are they ever going to have something huge with the Grimshaws again? Because they deserve better.
I think George should start a podcast. That fills my days up.
Well, that could be his new hobby, couldn't it?
Yep.
Tales from the Crypt.
The Hedgehog. Hedgehog.
Yeah.
On Monday, Craig is bombarding Faye with wedding plans, and he's got a spreadsheet. And Faye's getting a bit snappy with him, but she's like, oh, are you okay? He says, are you okay? Have you got cold feet? And she's like, no, I can't wait to get married to you. About as convincing as that. Jackson sees Faye in the street and he says, I'm really sorry that I told Craig about us and yesterday. And Faye says, you've broken our trust. I don't have any feelings for you. Stay away from me. And then Jackson gets drunk, goes to the pub,
starts chatting up Carla,
Carla's there, and he's like, right, sexy. Oh, that really made me cringe. That was grim.
Creepy.
So, in the pub, he sees Craig, does Jackson, and he starts calling him PC Plonker, and I think he kind of embodied the spirit of the nation.
Yeah.
For that scene. Craig's trying to cool him down, and Jackson pushes him over. So Craig's like, you've assaulted an officer of the law. Fun police. He takes Jackson to the police station, and Jackson's like, oh, I'm really sorry, I told you that me and Faye were sneaking about. I just wanted Faye to be a full-time mum for Miley. I'm sorry, I feel so stupid. And Craig's heartstrings are tugged a bit. And when Faye shows up to the station, Craig says, I'm not pressing charges. I don't want it to end up on his police record. And Faye's like, phew, you've been so lucky. You could have lost that job in Slough. Jackson shakes.
We did get quite a few suggestions for foreign
Sloughs. Oh, we did, didn't we?
On our
thank
various
you,
social media channels this week, so thank you very much. That was you. We'll make sure to avoid them next time we go travelling.
Shan't be going there. Jackson shakes Craig's hand and says, I'll keep my distance. Faye and Jackson then go to Victoria Gardens and they sit on Martin's bench. And Jackson's telling Faye that Craig's right and he's going to stay clear of her. And this is going to make things a bit more difficult. But Faye's like, no, Miley needs a friendly mum and dad. We have to get along. How can we manage it when we've got such animal magnetism?
Yeah, that was like whatever, wasn't it? That was an end to stuff before. It still doesn't feel like it's quite over yet, but I was happy for that to go on hiatus for the rest of the week. And then in today's episode, we just had a few extra bits from Damon, didn't we? Damon in the sack story, where he's just sniffing around the lawyer's office on and off during the episode.
But she goes in when everyone's at lunchtime having this meeting, and Sarah goes in, and Adam's sitting there with Alia and Dee Dee, and Sarah's like, Adam, I thought we were going to have a lunchtime.
Well, yeah, they'd arranged a lunchtime shagging sesh, hadn't they?
She's just looking at, like, honestly, I've forgotten her name.
Dee Dee, Sarah Louise, Tina O'Brien.
Tina O'Brien played this so well because she was like, Adam, I thought we were going to have a meeting.
Just like that.
I thought she did a really good job because she's obviously gagging for a shag.
And Adam's like,
and Adam's like, I'm busy. And Dee Dee and Ollie are like, oh my God, the pheromones coming off this woman. Get her out of here. I think we're going to get pregnant.
Well, then Damon starts coming on to Alia towards the end of the episode, doesn't he? But I think he's maybe doing it to try and get at Sarah and make her think, oh, I could be slipping through your fingers here. You don't want to be losing me, do you?
Damon. Alia's no fun. You don't want to go there.
No, I know. That was basically it.
They just thought, it's just like Dee Dee feels awkward. She knows what's going on between Damon, what has gone on between Damon and Sarah. Sarah's trying to desperately get a shag out of Adam. Alia's oblivious. Damon's trying to make Sarah jealous. Adam's like, I've got to get this court thing done.
Yeah, I've got to get my late night liquor licence.
I've got to get this, I mean, that's dull, isn't it? Late night licence.
So that was it. Under 2 hours for today's Street Talk. I said it would be a short one, but
Michael was napping on the sofa at one point during this.
Yes, we did have a little pause for you to go to the loo, and I had
we had a pause for you to go and get water.
I know we did. We had two little pauses.
Just slander me?
I'm not. I said you went to the toilet.
I'm an immortal being. I don't do any kind of biological functions apart from photosynthesis.
It was an okay episode a week for me. It started off so much better, but yeah, Wednesday was too miserable, and today was just a little bit a bit disappointing. Where it set up some exciting things that didn't follow through.
Ask you, was this week's crusty, dusty, or soft? That really tickled me.
What was that?
Shona asking what kind of role you wanted.
I don't know. I'm gonna give this one. I'm gonna give this one 3 horizontal hokey flaming cokies out of 5, and my character of the week is Ardy. How about you?
Oh, Ardy, nice one.
Well, yeah, he was the top of my top episode. So I could give it to Paul, but it was just a bit miserable, wasn't it?
It's sad.
Yeah.
I gave it 3.5. I'll give it 3.5. Special Hope eating biscuit techniques.
Okay. I thought you were going to give it Clubbing Vickers at the beginning of the episode.
Special Hope biscuit eating techniques.
Okay.
Clubbing Vickers sounds like a group of like a Church of England jolly where you go and beat seals to death. What did I say was my character of the week?
You didn't, did you?
I thought I did.
Oh.
I've already done it.
Are you sure?
I forgot.
Do you want to have a backup just in case you didn't? Did you say
I said 2 people.
Have you said?
I did say 2 people.
Oh, we're both very tired. If Gemma hasn't said a character profile, then
no, character of the week, not character profile.
I can't even
be
speak.
quiet.
Bennett, these people from Reddit aren't going to be tuning back into us next week.
Well, it's car crash podcasting, isn't it?
This really is.
Stephen, obviously.
Okay.